everyone, I am Dr. Sonal Jain from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. In this series of forensic science lectures, we have discussed about criminology. In the series following, today we are going to discuss about crime and juvenile delinquency. In that we will discuss about the cognizable and non-cognizable crimes, various crimes under IPC, and then about the juvenile delinquency. What is juvenile delinquency? The behavior of juvenile delinquents, and how can we correct juvenile delinquents. So talking about crime, what is crime? By definition, it is an offence that merits community, condemnation and punishment, usually by way of fine or imprisonment. Whenever we talk about that a person has committed a crime, there has to be set of two factors which prove or say, or a set of facts that must be proven to convict a defendant of a crime. That means for convicting a criminal, there should be a set of facts. Those set of facts are mental state, that we call as mens rea, and one is actus state, that is actus rea. So when are we talking about the mental state of a criminal? It is the mental intention or the fault of the criminal's state of mind, or we can call as the defendant's state of mind at the time of offence, sometimes called the guilty mind. So defendant, if the criminal or the defendant is having a guilty mind, that means he wanted to commit that particular act. There are certain acts which falls under the category of crime, but the person has committed those acts just to protect themselves from another person who is trying to harm them. So their mind was not guilty. But we will consider this fact: if a person has pure intention of kidnapping, killing another person, or conducting any sexual act, then we have to say that mens rea was present. Second is to conduct, actus reus. All crimes requires actus reus, that is, a criminal act or an unlawful omission of an act must have occurred. Just not by thinking that I will kill another person, I will kidnap another person, or just not by planning, the act of crime is being conducted. It has to be conducted. A person cannot be punished for thinking criminal thoughts. If an act has happened, then we have to say that it is actus reus, and this element is based on the problem of standards of proof. We have to collect certain proof that this person has committed this act. If we classify crime according to Indian Penal Code, it has to be classified into two categories. First one is the cognizable crimes and second one is the non-cognizable crimes. The cognizable crimes, they are defined under section 2C of CRPC, which is Criminal Procedure Code, and non-cognizable crimes are defined under section 2(1), which is under CRPC again, Criminal Procedure Code. So what is the difference between cognizable crime and non-cognizable crimes? Cognizable crimes or offences are cases which is defined as the one which an officer in charge of a police station may investigate without the order of a magistrate and effect arrest without warrant. In such offences or such crimes, the officer in charge does not need any order from the magistrate to arrest another person. They are broadly categorized as those falling either under the Indian Penal Code or under the special and local laws. For example, murder, robbery, theft, rioting, counterfeiting, etc. These are some examples of cognizable offences. Cognizable offences are usually referred to as the offences which are serious in nature. So the officer in charge which is present, he does not need any order from the magistrate. Then talking about the non-cognizable crimes, they are defined as those which cannot be investigated by police without the order of a competent magistrate. In such offences, if a defendant has committed a non-cognizable offence, the police in charge needs an order from a magistrate. Police does not initiate investigation in non-cognizable crimes except with magistral permission. For example, if police has a doubt on some person and they want to raid his house, they need to produce a warrant from the magistrate for searching of his house or for making arrest of such persons in non-cognizable offences. The examples of non-cognizable offences include public nuisance, causing simple hurt to some person either verbally or mentally or physically, assault, which could be also physically, verbally or mentally, any act of mischief, etc. They come under the non-cognizable offences. So, if we classify crime under Indian Penal Code, they could be classified as the first one, crimes against body. That means some harm has been happened to a person physical body. Such crimes are murder, attempt to commit a murder, culpable homicide not amounting to murder, kidnapping and abduction, hurt causing death by negligence. These are all the crimes against any physical body. Then we have crime against property, dacoity, preparation and assembly for dacoity, robbery, burglary, theft. These are all crime against property where someone's property is being stolen by the criminal. The crime against public order include riots, where the riots could be against the government or against any private company, etc. Arson, arson is setting up a fire. In some cases, some mischief person, they set up fire either in some vehicle or in some offices, some government offices, etc. So, all these crimes, they come under the category of the crime against public order. Then we have economic crimes, where criminal breach of trust, cheating, counterfeiting. For example, the Provident Fund case, if we talk about the PF case, that is one of the economic crimes. Or if we talk about any rich persons, they take loan from the bank and then they don't return the loan, that comes under the economic crimes, whether that could be to any bank or any government body, they come under the economic crimes. Then the fifth category is crimes against women. The crimes against women, any sexual crime which is amounting to rape or attempt to rape, dowry death, cruelty by husband or relatives of husband, molestation, sexual harassment and importation of girls from one place to another. So, the crimes under Indian Penal Code is also defined by how that crime is affecting either the person or any woman or any public order or financially any bank or any government. Then we have crime against children, which is child rape, kidnapping and abduction of children, procuration of minor girls, selling and buying of girls for prostitution, abetment to suicide, exposure and abetment, infanticide and feticide, killing of young girls, abortion of girls which are still under the fetus, which are the fetus. So, these are the crimes against children. When we are talking about the cognizable offences, apart from the cognizable offences like murder, dacoity, robbery, etc., there are some special and local laws which come under the category of cognizable offences. The Arms Act of 1959, if any person is found with certain arms which are prohibited by the government, whether that person has kept those arms and ammunition at his place or is providing such arms to any community to start the riots, then that person can be booked under the Arms Act 1959. Another major crime is the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, defined in 1985, any Gambling Act in 1867, Excise Act in 1944, Prohibition Act, Explosive and Explosive Substances Act 1884 and 1908, where any explosives which is being either made by any person or a group of persons or being exploded at any place, then they can be booked under this Explosive Act. Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of the 1956, Railways Act 1989, where it is defined any fine conducted or any act which is conducted with the railways or the property of railways, setting up arson in the railways, etc. The Foreigners Act 1946, where it is defined if any harassment, assault being conducted or cheating being conducted to the foreigners who are travelling from other countries to India, then this Foreigners Act come into place. Protection of Civil Rights Act, Indian Passport Act, Essential Commodities Act, all these are the special laws. The crimes which are conducted, also the Antiques and Art Treasure Act in the 1972, which is being defined. The person, they sometimes they rob different antique items, some antique or art galleries, paintings, etc., or ancient treasures which has been, or the ancient idols of different gods which are being sold in market, international markets, at a very higher rate. Then the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, which is changed from the Child Marriage Restraint Act of 1929, Indecent Representation of Women Act 1986. All these are the crimes under the special and the local laws. Then we have the Copyright Act of 1957, where any material by any person, anybody tries to copy that, then this act can be put over the person who is trying to copy the same material. Sati Prevention Act, the Sati, the famous, which is being abolished, and the act was formed in 1987, where the widows used to die in the pyre of their husbands who are being dead. SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, Forest Act, any harm being conducted to forest, the animals of forest, the various flora and fauna of forest. Other crimes which are not specified above, and they come under the special and local laws, including cyber laws under IT Act of 2001. So all these special laws, when we talk about, they come under the special laws of Indian Penal Code IPC, and these are the cognizable offences in which there is no requirement of order of magistrate to arrest a person or to search a place. Now talking about another major crime is juvenile delinquency. Juvenile delinquent is a person who is a minor, a person who is under the age of 18. That means that person is being called as a juvenile, and delinquent means if he is showing any behavior which is defined as a crime. So a person who is under the age of 18, he commits an act that otherwise would have been charged as a crime if they were an adult. So juvenile delinquency, also known as the youth crime, it is the participation in illegal behavior by minors. Whenever the court of law will see that this person has committed this crime, they will also look into the age of the person, whether that person is a minor or he is above the age of 18. So if a person has committed crime under the age of 18, then the punishment of those persons will be different. A person will be treated as a minor because he is below the age of 18. These delinquency problems began to receive public attention particularly since the establishment of justice for juvenile delinquents in 1899 in Illinois, USA. That was the first time the juvenile courts were being set up. In India also we have proper juvenile courts. One juvenile court is an example which is set up at Dr. Mukherjee Nagar, where they have juvenile delinquent centers also, and the children who are below the age of 18, they are being tried in such courts and where they have been convicted of certain crimes. So, by definition, a juvenile delinquent is a person who has not yet reached the age of maturity and whose behavior has been labeled delinquent by a court. So, now the question is why certain children shows such behavior and why they are being termed as a juvenile delinquent. Juvenile delinquent, they are the young and they may easily change. They are below the age of 18, their behavior is vulnerable and it is amount to change. They are more susceptible to the treatment. If the peer group is which is mischief, then they will also try to act mischief. They have a high rate of desistance. They most never get in trouble again, and juveniles' families is important to their lives. The state in which they act, it is in partnership with the family to treat child, how the behavior of juveniles should be treated. Now, as we were talking about that they are easily influenced by the peer group, the crime is a group phenomena, and if they are removed from the group, the child will behave normally. If they are in certain peer group where the act of mischief is there, the peer group progresses him for such act which are of criminal in nature, then the person as suggested by the peer group, he or she will commit that crime. But if the courts try to get into the reason that this child has behaved in such a way because of the peer pressure of the group, then if the child is removed from that group, that juvenile will behave in a good way. As these juveniles, they have little responsibility for others, it is easier for them to isolate and modify behavior. So, the setups which are being done by the Indian government for the juveniles, if they are put in such setup and they are isolated, it is very easy to modify their behavior because they are still young and they have their whole life to look after. The characteristics of JD, the delinquency rates are many times higher for boys than girls. The rates are tend to be highest during early adolescence because this is that time when the child is entering the teenage. That is the age group of 12 to 16 age group. There are hormonal changes in a child. A boy is getting a huskier voice. There are the testosterone levels of the male of the boys is being increasing. He is getting some beard. So, all sometimes the hormonal changes in the body, the testosterone level, the higher testosterone level, they tend the adolescents to get into these activities. It is more an urban than rural phenomena. Also, one of the characteristic is the low education background. If a child is not going to school because of poverty or any other reason that the parents have put him into the act of child labor, then because of low education background, it is the prime attribute of being a juvenile delinquent's behavior. Poor economic background, also we can say the low poverty, if they are below poverty line BPL, then it also leads to the delinquent behavior. There are certain causes of juvenile delinquency: broken homes, poor housing conditions, influence of friends or peer group, exclusion from one group, racial discrimination on the basis of their color, height, etc., violence as they see on the TV, radio or the internet. So many youth, because of the reason of poverty, are forced into delinquent activities because of a social disadvantage. Poverty is one of the causal factor of juvenile delinquent behavior. Then let's talk about the biological factor, which is the delinquent gene. Genes may play part in determining whether we turn to crime. So this is well defined by research that there is a delinquent gene. If it is present in certain children, they will tend to show delinquent behavior. Family conflict and criminality. So if there are a couple or the parents of the children are constantly fighting, or they have seen criminality in their families, then there is a chance of developing delinquent behavior in the children. Some children see that their father and mother, they keeps on fighting. The father, uh, they get into the act of the domestic violence. The father beats the mother. So the child, he also gets this impression of beating other people, which result in the delinquent behavior in the children. Then we have another causal factor is low intelligence and academic failure. If if a young child is not able to perform good in his or her exams and he is an academic failure, then that person might get into delinquent activities because of the constant criticism from the parents, from the teachers or from other family members. Hyperactivity and impulsivity, where the noxious behaviors is seen in children, and which is most cases it is the biological factor which results into the behavior that the child is very hyperactive and is notorious and is constantly, because of the hyperactive nature, because of the notorious activity, because of mischievous activity, constantly he is being traumatized by the parents, which results in the delinquent behavior of the children. So the social learning, do as you see, is the underlying principle. Societal trends tend to influence youth activity, and whatever they see in the movies or in the nearby areas, they tend to repeat that. If they are into more of the cinema where they are looking at the factors, they are looking at such things where they see that one person is killing another person, robbing, dacoity, etc. So the young minds, they try to copy such activities. So that is the underlying principle, that the societal trends tend to influence the youth activity. There are four theories which talk about the juvenile delinquency. The strain theory, it holds that crime is caused by the difficulty faced in achieving socially valued goals by legitimate means by those in poverty. So this theory says the underlying cause is the poverty, and if a person is not able to achieve his socially valued goals by the legal means, they get into such acts. Then we have the differential theory. It suggests that young people are motivated to commit crime by the delinquent peers and learn criminal skills from them. If they are smoking, if they are drinking, if they are using any arms, they get into such act. The other theory is the labeling theory. The idea is that once labeled as a deviant, a young person may accept that role and be more likely to associate with others who have been similarly labeled. Then we have the male phenomena. Youth crime is disproportionately committed by young men, and mostly because of the biological reasons of having the higher testosterone level, they get into the more of the criminal activities. These are the four theories which define about the juvenile delinquent behavior. Juvenile delinquent activity is mostly found in the substance abuse, behavior that contribute to health risk. Young adults, they get into the habit of various drugs like charas, ganja, afim, etc. And because of the nature of these drugs, that our body demands more and more of it, because we reach a state where we have the behavior of feeling like in the we have that behavior and which contribute to various health risks. Then the gang involvement, where various gang often engage in illegal monetary activities and are committed to criminal orientations. Public and private vandalism of the properties. It is often territorial and designed to show ownership, that which are malicious and deliberate defacement or destruction of any public or private property. The juvenile delinquents are involved in various violent crimes like homicide, rape, robbery, and property crimes also, arson, car theft, burglary. So the prevention is to educate them, to put them in a recreation center where their behavior can be modified. The whole community should come forward to help them and to create special programs. In conclusion, there has been an observed increase in violent and aggravated crimes among youth, and what is the most shocking fact is the number of drug related crimes which are growing. As a part of society, we must think about preventing these crimes, and we try to grow an educated and understanding generation. Thank you.